Okay, today we are talking about Christmas time. We are talking about Christmas feelings with the holidays coming up, meeting our families, our relatives, we will address the sense of severity to it, the pressure, and how easy it is to feel worn out. In the Christmas times. Today will also be my first attempt at using one of the triads. So in our 21-point star framework that we make use of when emotionally analyzing situations, relevant and urgent situations for our time. For each difficult situation we find ourselves in, there are these 5 different triads of emotional skills that we in an everyday manner can make use of in how we go through these situations moment by moment. The triad that feels maybe most relevant to use come Christmas time, come meeting extended family, is the in the star framework. It is represented by this red colored axis. It's called the worn out axis. You can see it symbolized with the 3 red dots as a symbol for when we feel worn out of energy, at our wits' end. As with everything and anything, you can always start in the problem, or you can start in the solution. Maybe today we will do a little bit of both. However, I think if we are honest, when addressing Christmas time, and especially this Christmas, when there is war on everybody's lips, there is conflict in the air. There is tension in the air. So I think this Christmas it makes more sense to start in the with the problem, because that's what most of us are thinking about anyway. Why is Christmas time so difficult? Why is meeting our extended family so difficult. As I speak to you, one thing that stands out for me is that we try very hard. We have great ambitions, not high ambitions, not decent ambitions. We have great ambitions. It's sort of like if you've seen one of those in the Olympics, maybe, when you have seen those 400 meters runners. Supposedly the 400 meters distance is the most difficult because you have to run almost your fastest, but not quite your fastest. So a lot of runners, psychologically, are very eager as the gun goes off. And they start running like crazy the first 100 meters. And then after 100 meters, they have 300 meters left. And they have just no gas left in them at all. They're worn out really quickly. Christmas time is a little like one of these 400-meter runs. We know that we must make great effort, but it is really difficult to strategically handling that energy exertion that is demanded of us. So as we gather with our family and extended family, it's like everybody is running that 400-meter dash. And there are all of these clumsy collisions. There are all of these misguided ambitions or intentions. There are all these misunderstandings, tense shoulders. Someone shakes your hand too hard. Someone doesn't shake your hand at all. You know, all that stuff. And everybody has something they're really worried about. Everybody has a subject or two they dread talking about. Everybody has a couple of subjects they really want to bring up. It's easy to be nasty to one another. It's nice to be nasty. It's not so nice to be the one on the receiving end. Things go fast. It accelerates out of control quickly. You know, there's these people who try to fit in too much in too short a window of time. Maybe we haven't met in quite some time. Maybe we have changed. Maybe someone who was in one way now is in another way. Maybe you don't recognize yourself. You used to feel one way about something or someone, and now you don't. There's all this uncertainty in the air. Uncertainty, not really knowing maybe who we are until the moment when we actually look each other in the eye and feel, oh, that's who I am now. We surprise ourselves, and that is a nervous thing. So maybe that's enough with the problem. We will take a short pause and come back. We are back. So we talked about the problem. It's easy to talk about why Christmas is difficult. We can talk about that for hours. If we instead now try to shift our focus to what we can do, what kind of emotional skills can we actually use for this wearing and tearing Christmas situation. So we look at the worn out axis, the red axis in the 21-point star framework, and we find the red triad, the worn out triad. It's the one that looks like a triangle, and there are these words written on each of the three axes in the triangle. So in the worn out triad, it says three things. It says 1, no fixing. It says 2, call and response. And it says 3, realistic. The goal of each of these 3 emotional skills in this triad is to achieve symmetry of creativity. That is somewhat of a tongue twister. We want to achieve symmetry of creativity. What does that mean? And whose creativity? So what that means is that when we meet our family at Christmas, I'm nervous and you are nervous. I want to make the most of it and you want to make the most of it. I am uncertain how I have changed during the past year, and you are uncertain about how you have changed the past year. In all these significant categories, in all these important categories, there is a symmetry between us. There just is. As human beings, there is this symmetry between us. When we look each other in the eye and take each other's hand, there is this symmetry in the meeting. There are 2 human beings meeting on equal footing. What we will try to do with our emotional skills in this situation is to lean in to this symmetry and be creative towards one another in a symmetrical way. So, to make this concrete, say that I am meeting a family member at Christmas. Say that one of us is a little bit shy. Maybe it's difficult to look the other one in the eye. Maybe the whole situation feels a bit rushed or stressed. Then the shy person will not be that creative starting out. If the other person, be it me or the other one, that is not as shy, if that person tries to go out in 100 miles per hour and be super creative in this meeting, asking 1,000 questions, being super nice and, forcing the dynamics, being overly creative, too much, too fast in this specific situation, then the meeting will lose its symmetry of creativity. When our meeting loses this symmetry of creativity, then both of us, not just the shy one or the forcing one, but both of us will start feeling worn out. And this is what we learn to look for. We learn to look for when there is symmetry between us and when there is asymmetry between us. And this is what we will try to do. This is, regardless of which emotional skill we make use of in the triad, the goal is to achieve this symmetry of creativity. So we will not try to out-creative the other part, and we will not try to under-creative the other part. So we will sort of, flow naturally with what is there. This axis, this situation, to address feeling worn out or, to address Christmas meetings is a lot about engaging each other in a somewhat musical way. For example, if we have a guitar player and a bass player playing together, they have to listen to each other and sort of sync with each other's rhythm, with each other's energy, with each other's intentions, with each other's forcefulness or laid-backness. There's this intangible but important dimension to it. Maybe if I say something about the 3 emotional skills in the triad as well, and then we will have made a somewhat complete explanation of one of the axes. That's the first time we've done that on this show. So, in the worn out triad, there are 3 emotional skills. 1, no fixing. 2, call and response. And 3, realistic. And any one of these 3 might do the trick. Any one of these 3 might work, depending on the situation. So try whichever works from moment to moment. Be casual. Don't just try a little. It's not that big a deal. So the first one, no fixing. The image we can use is sort of somewhat comical, but if we imagine that we are a loyal old dog. If you've ever hung out with a loyal old dog, you know how nice it feels when the dog just sits beside you, looks at you, or maybe looks away. But the dog has this very effortless, no fixing attitude. He just sits there. He just sits there and is a dog. He's not trying to prove anything. He's not trying to learn anything. He's just sitting there. He's doing no fixing. I think a lot of Christmas meetings can become more symmetrical if we just pretend that we are an old loyal dog. It's really great, and it feels great to just sit there. So if I was to do this now at Christmas, I would just sit there with my family and just be Erik in a no fixing way. I'm just Erik. I don't try to prove anything. I don't try to, find something out, or I just sit there and experience things as they come. It's sort of like relaxing, but it's easier to do than relaxing, because relaxing has this, I cannot do the tense stuff. I cannot do this or that. I have to relax. You easily block up when you try to relax. But if you have this image inside that you want to be something cool instead, that I would just like to be like this confident dog just sitting there. That's a cool image, and then it's easier. That's the first one. The second one is called call and response. It is somewhat related to when I talked earlier about the shy person and the forceful person, creating an asymmetrical dynamics. So if the shy person, for example, has a trouble meeting your eye, for example, there is this absence of calling. The person is not calling you. The person is, for the moment, introverted. And if you respond, call and response, if you respond to someone who's not calling, then the dynamics will suffer. So call and response is this give and take kind of thing. So I like to think to take turns, that if I call and the other person responds, then that's cool, and then I wait for that person's call and I respond. But if I call and the other person doesn't respond, then I don't call again. Not at least for the nearest time. Yeah. So a rule of thumb here could just be, don't call twice. And do not respond when someone is not calling you. Is that simple enough?
Could you say it again?
So,
just say it.
Yeah, the core of call and response is to not force neither the calling or the responding. So if the other person does not call you, then you do not respond.
Mm.
But if the other person does call you, then do some kind of response. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Maybe we will do more practical videos in the future as well, so we can show this stuff,
Yeah.
not just talk about it. Makes more sense then, maybe. We'll figure out how we will do that. Okay, so the last one, the third emotional skill in the worn out triad, is called realistic. Realistic what? It's implied in realistic goals, and more specifically realistic common goals. Symmetry of creativity is much easier to achieve if we have a shared common goal that is realistic that we will achieve in the given time period. So to contrast, to say, if we instead have this grand goal, or if we say that I have this grand goal, only I have this grand goal, I have this personal agenda with Christmas, there's something I want to achieve. Doesn't matter what, I just have something grand I really want to achieve. If I exude an energy that I am only interested in my grand personal goal, then it will be harder to achieve symmetry with my family. Often it can be difficult to figure out what kind of realistic common goal we might be having. Maybe that's one part why we are so nervous when we meet at Christmas, because we do not know simply what kind of shared common goals we might be having. And we will most likely have to shoulder some disappointment, because there might be expectations on our part that we are wishing for maybe more commonalities than there are at the moment. So realism, having realistic expectations, realistic shared goals, it's not that fun, at least not in the beginning. To adjust your expectations to a more realistic level is always boring or disappointing at first, but then whilst we have when we have done it, it becomes more fun going forward. So it's sort of this doing the boring thing first to have fun later kind of thing. Yeah. So these three are the emotional skills in the worn out triad. No fixing, call and response, and realistic common goals. And the goal for all three is to achieve symmetry of creativity in our meetings. If we are to sum up all of this into one sentence, into one line, maybe I could say something like, don't outshine anyone. And do not take the bait when someone is trying to outshine you. Just try to, vibe in a kind of loyal old dog kind of way.
Mm.
Mm. Mm. Closing up, I feel that again it is easier to focus on the problems come Christmas time, at least for me it is. So maybe say a few closing words about that Christmas is challenging. 1 year is to be sort of summed up in a few days. And this year is somewhat special because there are a lot of conflict in the air. This Christmas will be demanding. There will be disappointments. Everybody will try their hardest, but it will not look that way. It will look like people are just careless. Things will get said that feels unnecessary. Feelings will get hurt. So we will feel worn out to some degree. I think that is inevitable. Sometimes all the great emotional skills in the world cannot do that much for us. Sometimes we just have to get wet and get through it, and then make new strides afterwards. Sometimes that's the case. I think that's it on my part. Do you have something you want to add or you're thinking about?
Yeah.
Hmm?
I wondered if you had, what do I think? How to say it? Yeah. If you have like a final word or like a thought or something you said earlier today that you want to say again regarding Christmas.
Something I want to see again.
Something you want to say like if you want to say something again or
to put extra emphasis on something.
Yeah, for people.
If I'm just gonna put emphasis on one thing.
Yeah. Regarding Christmas.
Then it would be that Christmas time is a very ambitious time. we are collectively trying to fit in a lot of emotional stuff in a short window of time. In itself, the premise is kind of doomed to fail. Actually. So the premise in itself is kind of cruel to everybody. Just in itself. So just be real about that the game is rigged. The Christmas game is rigged against all of us. We are all in the same boat, but it will not feel like that.
That's great.
We are in the same boat, but it will not feel like that. Cool. So, thank you for today, and see you next time.
Thank you.